Hey guys, Bill Spadea here. Welcome to my new streaming live show, taking your calls, called Common Ground. It's great to be here. We are going to restore liberty and prosperity to the Garden State and to this entire country. The worst case in America is better than the best case in many countries around this world. So we ought to be thankful to be Americans. We've got to fight for it. And my commitment to you is I'm going to use that position, I'm going to use that power to help empower you and make our community stronger, make our business community stronger, empower our parents, empower our nurses and our teachers and our janitors and our bus drivers and our lawyers and doctors and patients and nurses and dental hygienists and everyone in between, from the over-the-road to the regional and local truck drivers to the folks that are stacking shelves at Walmart. Every one of you deserves a voice because you're an American. Hey guys, Bill Spadea here. Welcome back to our new streaming show, Common Ground. I am broadcasting live from our brand new Red Bank studios. Thanks to our sponsor, Rob Gill, and the great folks at Epic Financial Strategies. Great to be in Red Bank, New Jersey. Love it here, right in the heart of Monmouth County. We're spending an awful lot of time in Monmouth County these days. It is not only a great part of New Jersey, but this is between Monmouth and Ocean County. This is where the fight begins to take back our great state. And it's one of the themes that I want to talk to you about on today's show. Now, you may be watching us live stream on Rumble. If you are, make sure you rumble it, like it, and share this link with your friends and family. If you're watching us on our new streaming platform, our new partners on New Jersey, it's ONNJ. And if you're wherever you're watching us, you can go to ONNJ.com and see shows. The previous shows, we've got all of them up there. You can take a look at them. We are live every day, Thursday at 4:30 for an hour, taking your calls. The phone call number is, if you want to talk to me, talk to one of our guests, 973-891-4421. That's 973-891-4421. So today's theme is how we are going to take back New Jersey. I spent a lot of time on the radio today talking about a couple things. Number one, the opportunity we have in 2023 to take back the state Senate and take back the state Assembly. Now, a lot of folks say, you know what? It's a heavy lift. You've got 6 seats to overcome in the state Senate, 7 seats in the Assembly. The Assembly is going to be a little bit easier with 2 Assembly seats in every district. With 1 senator in each district, you got to win all 6 districts. A lot tougher. That said, we've got some great candidates out there. And one of the things that's important, and I've been saying this, we've launched a campaign called One Less Idiot. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. The idea of one less idiot is that no matter where I go, and I've been on the trail for about the past year plus as we built the Common Sense Club, now 107,000 members strong. We are surging, we are growing, we're doing small business events, we're doing parental rights events, meet and greets, churches, restaurants, healthcare centers up and down the state, 3 a day. And one of the things that I hear often, especially from independent voters, is they say, you know, I get to the ballot in November and I ask myself, how the hell did we get stuck with these 2 idiots? It happens all the time. So the way you get one less idiot is you get involved in the primary. You get involved aggressively in the June primary. Now, if you are an unaffiliated voter, and there are 2.3 million of you across the state of New Jersey, do you know that on Election Day in June, you can show up, declare yourself a Republican, and vote in the Republican primary? So for all the folks out there that say, hey, it's the person, not the party. Yeah, I'm with you. It really is the person. There are a lot of Republicans out there that have not earned the full support of being reelected because they've done a terrible job. So I get it. I get why you'd be angry at both parties. However, there are only two parties. So any talk of independence or third party, get that out of your head. Never going to work in this system. We have two parties, Republicans and Democrats. The Democrats are so far left now and so far gone that they cannot provide a viable vehicle for normal people to return normalcy, stability, prosperity, and liberty to the Garden State. Let's face it. It's the Democratic majority that is pushing the sexualized agenda on our kids. It's the Democratic majority pushing this transgender narrative, which is not only confusing and crushing kids and hurting families, but destroying women's sports. We see it happening up and down. We've essentially normalized mental illness. That's the Democrats. The Democrats are also responsible for the spiking inflation, the idea that our money by the hundreds of billions are going overseas instead of helping restaurants and businesses and families and micro schools here in the United States. So the Democrats are too far gone. I mean, abortion up to birth, ridiculous. 81% of Americans say that there should be at least some restriction on abortion. So the Democrats have decided that they'd rather blame legal gun owners who are not involved in crimes almost at all, instead of blaming the fact that they're letting prisoners out of prison before they complete their sentences. They're too far gone to be helpful. So put them aside for a minute. The Republican Party, although I've been very critical of the Republicans over the years, of course, with good reason, the Republican legislature essentially sat on their hands for 2.5 years while Murphy locked us down. But that said, the Republican vehicle is the vehicle that can take the state back. Now, how do we do it? Well, we're going to get heavily involved in these primaries. We're going to elect great candidates who are going to be nominated to take on Democratic incumbents. And instead of just electing a surge of new Republicans to get to the R versus D majority, we're going to elect a common sense majority of Republicans. That's the key. Now, today, I've got a couple of special guests. Later in the show, I'm going to bring in a guy to talk about how you can get involved today in your county committee. Remember, in New Jersey, there are 21 counties, 21 county committees, and there are 12,000 county committee seats. 5,000 of them are vacant right now. That means you can get on your county committee and get involved, even if you've never been involved in politics before. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But first, I want to turn to a couple of candidates who are running for the state Senate. One friend of mine, Pat Johnson, who's running in the 14th district. This is essentially a Mercer County, part of Gloucester County district, part of Camden County. And this district is arguably one of the best opportunities for the Republicans to pick up a seat against the incumbent, Linda Greenstein. Joining me now, that candidate who has a lot of momentum behind her, Pat Johnson. Pat, welcome to Common Ground. How are you? Oh, I can't hear you, Pat. Pat, I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now, Bill?
I can hear you. Now you sound great. All right, Pat, you were at a restaurant, you were walking down the sidewalk, now you're in your car. Tell me, how goes the battle against Linda?
It's going to be a tough battle, but we're going to do it. I believe that people are tired and they know that there needs to be a change, and I'm the change. You know, I didn't get into politics, Bill, because it was planned. I got into politics strictly by accident. And so unlike many, it's not been a lifelong agenda. It hasn't been a lifelong plan. It just occurred. And I think maybe that's a good thing. I thought for a long time when they asked me to run that it wasn't. However, I see now the need for real people that understand what people are going through.
So let's talk about that for a minute. You're a nurse, right? So tell me about that and your experience as a healthcare provider, looking around at what lack of support healthcare providers, nurses, et cetera, get from our state government, certainly from our legislature.
You know, Bill, during COVID, I was not working. So I made the decision that I needed to do something, and I made face masks for everybody all over New Jersey. I formed a team that did this. And I realized then how much we didn't have government behind us, because for me to have to make face masks to take into the hospitals, to give to our doctors and our nurses was pathetic. That was how bad it was at that point in time. I made face masks for our entire state police in New Jersey, our firemen. doctors and nurses. And when I had the opportunity, I had my team make them for people on the streets. But that, I think, was when I realized that we needed to get real people involved in politics.
So other than now, what we know that so much during COVID has been completely debunked, that here you spent all this time because they put all of the burden on local hospitals, local nurses, local doctors, no different than our school teachers having to dig into their own pocket to go and buy school supplies. And, unfortunately, now we're seeing the narrative unravel, the uselessness of the masks, the fact that the vaccine has been pushed and they've already had to now pull some vaccines off the shelf saying they're not actually safe, they're not healthy, right? So to your point, government was only involved in locking down and mandating, and just like every other unfunded mandate out there, because at the time, a lot of folks did not know what the right call was, government wasn't leading, they were enforcing, and then they were moving on. So here we are now. COVID's long behind us. It should have been over in about 3 weeks, but that's for another discussion, right? Should have never locked down. What would you do differently? You're the incumbent you're running against was all in favor of Murphy's lockdowns, contributed to the fact that a third of our businesses will never reopen, contributed to the fact that our children were masked for a year, contributing to isolation and a detachment from reality, and the spike now in not only abuse of drugs and alcohol, but calls to the suicide hotline. How do you see yourself different in the Senate compared to your opponent?
Because I'm someone that listens to the people and I work for the people. And I understand the need to sometimes work as a team to get something done, which is why it's been so important to me to work with the people that I want to run for Senate. We constantly have to remember that one district's not the same as another. And then we have to fight for our district. I need to fight for what is needed in my area. I go to many town halls to listen to what the people want. I got really involved with the election process in Mercer County, which I'm still involved in. People see me out there fighting. I'm not one of those people that just sits at a desk and listens and doesn't show up. Linda didn't show up for one meeting with the commissioners in regards to the difficulties that we were dealing with the election. I went to every single one, every meeting. I gave depositions. I did the counting of the machines. I go to school board meetings all over my entire area, and I'm not in office yet. So I can only see myself getting more involved as I move forward.
I love it. I love it. Pat, always good to talk to you. What is the website if people want to get in touch with you and help you out?
Pat Johnson, the number 4nj@gmail.com. Please, everyone, understand we can only get there if you help us. So every dollar counts. Please go to my website, and whether it's $1, $5, or $250, whatever you can do, please donate, because we need the funds to be able to fight the machine. Linda is a machine. She needs to go. Thank you.
Pat Johnson, 4nj.com. Love it. Thank you. Pat, always good to talk to you. We'll see you soon on the trail.
Bill, always great. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks. You got it. So you heard it. I mean, that, as much as in the early days of the lockdowns and the panic over COVID, which of course was completely unwarranted, we now know beyond any doubt that the people who were vulnerable were not protected and the people who were healthy were locked down, and the damage that was caused by people that were refused some treatments that they should have gotten for other things, whether it's not even talking about ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, no, even beyond that, routine medical procedures not being done because the hospitals were essentially on lockdown for this surge of COVID. And what we saw early on is that people were forced into a panic by misinformation coming from the CDC, misinformation coming from the government, misinformation coming from Dr. Fauci. We now know that many of these so-called experts lied in front of Congress. Now we know that some of the vaccines have had to be pulled off the shelves. So you go back through it, and you got to be, if you were looking at this and saying, wait a minute, did the government actually convince people as a healthy, normal human being that if you took a test that we now know was producing double-digit false positives, that the originator of the test, who died in 2019, who won a Nobel Prize, by the way, advocated against using it to rate public infection because that's not what it was there for. It was a manufacturing process. That's where it came from. People would test, even though they were healthy, no symptoms whatsoever. Government actually convinced people that you, as a healthy person with a swab that said you were not healthy, to isolate for 2 weeks. What happened in this country was a crime. And we had all of the evidence out there between Sweden and South Korea, South Dakota, and other places. You know, South Dakota never shut down their small businesses. Sweden never kept one kid at home. No masks, no vaccine, no distance. How patently absurd for healthy adults to stand 6 feet apart and pretend that you're safe. Ridiculous. So there's a lot at stake in this election because the Democratic majority and some of the weaker Republicans allowed the governor to run roughshod all over our rights. The governor, the same governor that said that the Bill of Rights was above his pay grade. Well, here's the good news. Got another candidate running against what I would describe as one of the most radical, out of touch members of the legislature, honestly, on both sides. The incumbent's name is Andrew Zwicker, and I'm embarrassed to say he's based in my hometown of Princeton. So I am actually in this 16th district, my wife Jody and I, and joining me now, the Republican hopeful who is from Somerset County. He's got a great shot. He came very, very close in the last election. I believe he's going to take it home this time. Please welcome former United States Congressman Mike Pappas. How you doing, Mike?
Great, Bill. How are you? So glad to be with you today.
Great to have you. Good to see you the other night at Senator Bucco's house. That was a fantastic event. I don't know if you got to try the lobster tails or the oysters, but whew, fantastic place.
I tried the shrimp. That was good.
All right, there you go. So, Mike, let me ask you, tell us first, take us back to the last election, very, very close, closer than anybody predicted. What was the margin of the loss last time?
It was about 2.5%. Very close.
Very close. In a county and district that they drew in order to be safe for the Democrats. So
right.
What are the prospects now? What kind of traction are you getting? And the aside from that is, what will you do differently than Andrew Zwicker?
Well, the district is different than in 2021. Redistricting has actually made it more favorable for me, more of northern Hunterdon County, which I'm very thrilled about. So that helps considerably. The other thing is he has 2 more years of a voting record for me to contrast with what I would do. Just more recently, he had 2 votes. He had 2 opportunities to vote to restore full funding for the school districts that have lost state aid. 2 of them larger towns in the district, his own town of South Brunswick and Hillsborough Township in Somerset County. And he either abstained or stepped out of the room. Unbelievable. He'll tell you that he supported a measure, which is true, that would restore 2/3 of the funding. But when given the chance to support full funding from, I'm told, like a $10 billion state budget surplus.
Yeah, $10 billion.
He was nowhere to be found.
And where was he, Mike? Where was he? Not just the $10 billion budget surplus that we saw because of a surge in tax revenue as everybody reopened and business got back to normal, but the COVID relief money, billions and billions of dollars, and we now know that $500,000 was spent or more on what, 6 SUVs for the governor's fleet, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the president of the Senate. I mean, just a slap in the face. And then most recently, there has been complete silence from Zwicker and the Democrats on the fact that Governor Murphy and his wife spent $500,000 redecorating their offices at the State House, including not just $220,000 in rugs, but one rug worth $114,200 that is sitting in the governor's office. It's the most egregious abuse of the public funds and trust that I have seen. I don't think this would happen in any other state. Democrats are silent. What do you say?
It's an example of hypocrisy. when so many liberal Democrats will accuse Republicans of being elitists. Um, how what more can I say than what you've described? I read the article in the Star Ledger, I think it was Saturday or Sunday, and had photographs. And I've been in those rooms. I've been in the what is now a reception room, which was a room that was used for many public events, and now they've chosen to use it for just reception purposes. And I guess that's his prerogative, but it's also our prerogative to react to it. And I think your point is well taken. It is a demonstration of what their priorities are. And the priorities in Andrews Wicker's case is not to provide full funding for the districts in the school districts in his legislative district that have lost literally millions of dollars.
Yeah.
South Brunswick, where he's from, something like $7 or $8 million they have lost in school aid because of people like him.
Well, and the governor playing politics with this. How many Republican areas lost more funding disproportionate to the Democratic areas? While places like Toms River, other Republican areas got whacked. Places like Newark, where you're spending, I believe the number somewhere between 30 and 35,000 per student. It may even be more than that. And how many of those kids can't read and write? How many of those kids never graduate? How many of those kids end up on the street or barely go to school as it is? Highest cost per pupil. They get $1.2 billion from the state coffers and added $110 million this year. So your point is spot on, Mike. Let's just really quick in the minute I have left talk about crime. I've been saying this now for a year, that bail reform is completely misguided, that the idea that we've created a turnstile for criminals who beat their wives, steal cars, break into homes, threaten people, commit crimes, but their bail score doesn't add up. So within a couple hours, they're back out on the street. I'd like to see bail reform completely suspended in the name of public safety until they can figure out how they were originally going to solve the problem, where a couple of kids got caught up on the wrong side and didn't have $300 to get out. But the Democrats have said nothing about this. I mean, short of a few. Vingo Powell, one of the few Democrats who have actually said we need to address this, but nothing from your opponent.
I don't think you'll hear anything from him, and that's part of the problem. He takes a rather dismissive attitude about things that really matter in our communities. Support for law enforcement and a system that certainly provides under our Constitution rights for those that are accused, but victims also need to be protected and from the exposure to vulnerability that many of them have been devastated, and they seem to feel that there's a system and people that establish the procedures are not looking out for them. Yeah. That's got to change.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then maybe eventually we'll get to taking some of that surplus and fixing the 482 roads and bridges, or the bridges that are in total disrepair, considered structurally deficient by the federal government, could in imminent danger of collapsing, and crickets from the Democrats. Mike, are you using a campaign website? Are you telling people to go to the Somerset Republican Party? Where do you want people to go?
I have a Facebook page. It's Mike Pappas for NJ State Senate, and people can learn about the campaign, can volunteer, can make a contribution. Any contribution is helpful.
Great. And I can tell you that we are going to come in with some support with digital advertising, et cetera, with our Elect Common Sense. And, our PAC is going to be influential and helpful as we target some of these districts, and certainly by our conversation that we've had before, you were at the top of that list. So, Mike, thank you. Thanks for stepping back into this. Best to your wife, Sage. I know that after you have that run through in Washington, to get dragged back in and now run for the second time, because you were so close last time. You should have been in the Senate already. It takes a lot. It's a Herculean effort. I get it. And I want to thank you for that, taking that personal sacrifice on behalf of the rest of us.
Well, thank you. And Bill, I want to be your state senator.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you. Okay. I'll be calling. I'm a pain in the neck constituent. I got a lot of questions. All right, Mike, you take care. Okay. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that is former Congressman Mike Pappas, who is now running for the state Senate in New Jersey's 16th district, which, yes, is my district. I'm in Princeton. And what you see, here's what I hope you got from those last two interviews. Number one, Pat Johnson, who's a nurse, a real person, regular person, not a politician. She was doing whatever she could during COVID to say, well, how can I be helpful? They're the kind of people we need in the State House in Trenton. Then you got Mike Pappas, who has no reason to get back into politics, except that he's a resident of the same district I'm in, and he looks at this crackpot Zwicker, says, what is going on where the guy is sitting and complicit with the governor as he strips away funding for schools in these districts that need it and then shores up his political allies. It's an egregious abuse of the public trust and of public funding, and that is not even scratching the surface, because then we get to bail reform and everything else. So again, one less idiot campaign. We need to make sure we have good candidates on the Republican side to battle the Democrats, because the Democrats have had 20 years at the helm, 20 years at the helm, 2 decades, and they've wrecked it. Our unfunded pension and health benefit liabilities are soaring over $200 billion. Our debt soaring in the hundreds of billions of dollars. We've got an energy policy that's going to spike rates, not just killing marine life, but wreck home values and spike rates for working class and middle class families. It's all happening. Now, let me back up a minute. What I said at the beginning of the show is that there's a guy that I have had the pleasure of meeting, and I'll be introducing at our conference coming up, A Seat at the Table, coming up on at the Palace in Somerset on Thursday, April 27th. You can get tickets right now. Go to asattnj.org. That's asattnj.org. And you use promo code Spadea to get a discount. There are some tickets left. Great national speakers coming in, because New Jersey is in the spotlight. If we can fix New Jersey, the rest of the country is going to follow. This is one of the tough battleground states. Nobody will call it a battleground, but we know different. How do I know? Because we're only 6 seats down in the state Senate and only 7 seats down in the Assembly. And in 2022, we helped elect 447 school board members, ousting some of the backroom cabal that sat there and presided over the sexualization of our kids, the transing of our kids, and everything in between. I'm sick of it. I know you are too. One of the men leading this fight nationally, who has taken it upon himself not only to talk to President Trump about this and get his support for a focus on county committee. Every county committee across New Jersey is tied to an election precinct. In New Jersey, we call it district because we got to be different. And the idea is that there are 12,000 of these committee slots around the state. 5,000 plus are vacant. And some of it, you wouldn't believe it if I told you. Places like Cumberland County, where nearly 8 in 10 seats are not occupied. What does that mean? That means the backroom elites in the Republican Party are making decisions on your behalf, and we need to stop that. So we are on an aggressive mission to change that, and the goal, fill 1,000 seats this year, and I know we're going to do it. Joining me now, my next guest, his name is Steve Stern. You can probably tell all about his politics based on his attire, and I have to tell you, this guy has got the energy, the intelligence, the courage to take this across the finish line. We're lucky to have you focused on New Jersey, Steve. Welcome to Common Ground.
Thank you so much. And, we're going to make it happen in New Jersey. And, a lot of people ask me how it happens, and I was very lucky to get on Steve Bannon about 3 years ago. And, I was a little worried when I got on, because, you don't know what you're going to say. But he had a success story here in Broward County, where I am, and that's what they wanted to hear. So we took this everywhere. I decided that we'd have a Zoom meeting and we'd get people involved all over the country with the help of Steve Bannon. He had a success story team. And so we have people in every state, including your state, which we have Elizabeth Nader. And she's one of the top people in your state. And I work with her very closely, and she invited me. And I don't really go to too many of these events, but for you guys in New Jersey, I'm coming.
I love it.
And what I did, I've called every chair that we have. I've called 400 people. We have more people in New Jersey coming to our Zoom on Monday. We have 2 Zooms. One is for election integrity, and one is for precinct strategy. Now, we have a very special guest coming on, and I can't tell you who it is because of security reasons for our precinct strategy, which will be at 8 o'clock. And if you want to get on, we'll let you know how to get on.
Steve, this is 8 o'clock Monday, correct?
This is Monday at 8 o'clock for the precinct strategy.
Great.
And it is 3:30 for the election integrity. You have about 10 people coming on for election integrity.
So let's talk about the precinct strategy, because to me, that is, in the limited time we have, that's where the rubber really meets the road in New Jersey. We're focused on election integrity for sure, and we have to model something similar to that happened in Virginia. As you know, in Virginia in 2021, new governor comes in. A good candidate, far better than the candidate the Republicans put up in New Jersey, based on the issues he ran on, parental rights, small business. But B, the election integrity. Glenn Youngkin was not afraid to address the fact that there was potential fraud going on, and they went in and they ripped out 73,000 potentially fraudulent votes by cleaning up the rolls. We obviously want to do that here, but for our time, I want to focus on people getting involved in these county committees. You and I were talking this morning on the radio show that you've got 3 counties in particular that are really among the worst. Cumberland County, led by a chairman who is also an elected official, who also is telling people, or at least hinting around the fact that he wants to be governor, but he's got 8 in 10 of his seats are not filled in his own county committee. In Monmouth County, same thing. You've got a county chairman who has aspirations to be higher than what he is now, and 30% of the seats are filled. In Burlington County, 55% of the seats are not filled, and you got a young guy there who does effectively nothing. And my question to you is, in counties like that, how simple is it for the average person to say, you know what, I'm a cop, I'm a teacher, I'm a truck driver, I'm a regular guy, and I'm not really political, but I'd like to have my voice heard in who the party is getting behind as candidates in June and in November. How easy is it to do, and what is your strategy?
So the first thing is, this morning I was on, and we got 20 phone calls for people to get involved. So how we do this is getting on shows like yours, getting people to call me, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's
954-318-6902.
And I answer every call. When I get on most of the calls, depending on the show, we get anywhere from 30 calls to 700 calls. I call everybody back, or you can email me at stern1054@aol.com. I will let you know how to get in. Now, let's say you can't get in, because I got all the results of how many people are in each of your county committees. And I know what's going on, just like what you said. So we tell people, if there's not a way to get in, because you could call your county people and they don't let you in, to give you all kind of baloney, right. There could be a club. So if you have a club on the outside, you join that club. It could be a Republican club. You get 100 or 200 people involved. Then you get into that committee at one of the meetings, and you show up with 100 people. They got to hear you. And you say, hey, look, we want to get in. And if you don't let us in, we're going to take over. So we have a guy in Rhode Island who we're going to get together with all the people in New Jersey to find out how it happened. When these guys were running for office there, they didn't win. And when they lost the election in Rhode Island, they got together and they took over the Republican Party in Rhode Island. We now have a MAGA person as the chair. We have the chair of chairs, and we speak to them. So I'm going to let everybody in New Jersey who wants to call him, I've okayed it with him, to call him and find out how to do it. We got a guy in Texas. Read this book, The 5-Star Plan. That'll tell you how to get to it. Go to www.precinctstrategy.com. Dan Schultz is the master of this. He's a West Point guy. He's got his book. You can get that book by going on his site. That will tell you how to get on. We answer all the questions. Go to your local. Go ahead.
I was going to say, practically speaking, it's a call to the county clerk's office to find out what is open. And in many cases, if you put your name on the ballot, you can get 4 signatures and get on the ballot for the primary election, correct?
That's one way, and you can also get appointed. Some of the states are different. Every state is different. You got to work within your state. But coming to this event that we're going to have next week, a lot of people are going to tell you how to get involved. I'm going to be there. I'm glad to answer any of the questions. Cleta Mitchell is going to be on the panel with me. She'll answer the questions on election integrity. And I want to let you know that the election integrity and the precinct strategy are working together.
Sure.
Because if the voter rolls don't get cleaned, which we're going to tell you how to do this, we're going to have Jovan Pulitzer, who's going to tell you, because you think you're cleaning the election rolls, but they put it right back on after you clean them. So he has the way to do that so that you can't do that. So we're going to let you know how to do that. And we've had over 1,000 people on these Zoom meetings.
So Can you
And lots
sign
of
up on the
information.
site if our New Jersey Patriots go to precinctstrategies.com? Is it .com?
Yeah, it's precinctstrategy.com.
Precinctstrategy.com. They can sign up for the Zoom call on Monday and be
No,
informed.
in order to get to the Zoom call, you got to call me.
All right,
You
so
got
give that number again, because Steve,
954
go ahead.
1-86902 S Stern 1054 AOL. Go to flagshirt.com. Get yourself in there. We will tell you how to get on. We have to get some protection on this, so that's the reason why we have you call. There's no way to go directly to it. You got to come through me.
You can't trust anybody. I get it. I love it. I'll tell you, you got a lot of Patriots watching right now, Steve. And what I've told people is that if you live in Cumberland County, Burlington County, Monmouth County in particular, you've got so many open seats that the opportunity, if those county committee seats are open for the June election and you get those couple of signatures, all of a sudden, you're now involved in the county committee, having a say in who the chairman's going to be, having a say in who the candidates are going to be. This is a big deal. And I will tell you this, Steve, when we started this mission a couple of years ago, focusing on school boards, and then saw the results of 447 school board victories in 2022, it blew people away because nobody has focused on that for decades. Everybody thought, you know what you do? You elect a governor and everything falls into place. No, it doesn't. You got to build it from the ground up. So I want to thank you for spending the time with me today and on the radio this morning. We will see you on the Zoom call on Monday, and I'm looking forward to shaking your hand and introducing you at a seat at the table on Thursday of next week at the
I give
Palace
you
of
just
Somerset.
one more information.
Do it.
Started a site called www.savemyfreedom.us where we have 10,000 people on. That is going to be a central place for people to get information. So go to www.savemyfreedom.us. My co-host, Michelle Swinick, will get you in there. We expect close to 100,000 people here in a year, just like your club. And there's a lot of stuff going on because just because you're in New Jersey, many people move. You know, we have a lot of people coming down to Florida. So the reason why you want to get a hold of me when you come to Florida, we're going to let you know how to get in. In Florida, it's a lot easier.
You're the Patriot gatekeeper. I love it.
Got it.
I love it. Thank you, Steve. I'll see you next week.
Action.
That's right. Steve, have a great one. I'll see you soon.
You too.
Take care. That is Steve Stern, who, well, you saw it live. He is a patriot. He is an aggressive, strong voice. Before I get to my next guest, I want to take a quick break to talk about the Common Sense Club, and I also want to thank our sponsor. Certainly want to thank Rob Gill and the great folks at Epic Financial Strategies for enabling us and empowering us with this brand new studio here in beautiful downtown Red Bank, New Jersey, in the heart of Monmouth County. Happy to be here. I'm going to take a quick break to hear about the Common Sense Club, and I'll see you on the other side in just a minute. Hey guys, Bill Spadea here. Like you, I am sick and tired of the culture of acceptance that has been beaten into us by Trenton politicians on both sides of the aisle. Accepting their higher taxes, accepting higher tolls, crumbling roads, accepting a radical school curriculum, accepting busloads of illegal border crossers, accepting prisoners being let out before they complete their sentences, and perhaps worst of all, accepting losing November after November. It is time to break the mentality of acceptance being pushed by Trenton politicians. We need to demand common sense policies and leaders who get it. I am excited to announce the launch of Elect Common Sense and to serve as its honorary chairman. It is time to get back to winning. Hey guys, welcome back. Bill Spadea here. Thanks for joining me on Common Ground, our live streaming show. You can see us on Rumble, see us on social media. Make sure you follow me at Bill Spadea across our social media platforms. If you want to get involved with the Common Sense Club, jointhefight2023.com. Jointhefight2023.com. Got 107,000 members, growing every single day. I also, on the previous side of this break, I thanked our sponsor, Rob Gill and Epic Financial Strategies. I want to give you that website because I know things are tough out there. You're looking at bank failings and you're thinking, who guarantees my future? Well, let me tell you this. There are products out there that do provide guarantees. And one of the things that the great folks at Epic Financial Strategies teaches is explains and educates and empowers you to effectively be your own bank. I'll leave it at that. What you want to do is go to the website, moneymindset2023.com, moneymindset2023.com. Fill out the quick form, click submit, and one of their experts is going to get to you very shortly after you click submit. So please do it now. Check it out. You owe it to yourself to take and get hold of your financial security and future. Learn how at moneymindset2023.com. Plus, I got a free gift, a very cool wealth management tool. You're going to love it. And there's no obligation. You know, I wouldn't steer you wrong. Go to moneymindset2023.com. All right, I want to bring on our next guest. I've got a cool event coming up on Saturday. Now, as you know, I dabble in a lot of things. I am a film producer. By the way, Saturday night on Lifetime at 8 o'clock Eastern, my latest film will be premiering on Lifetime TV called Her Fiance's Double Life. It's our third Lifetime movie. We got two more, another one coming out in the summer, and then we begin filming our first horror film in May. So I'll keep you posted on that. From a production standpoint. Now, as you know, we also do a lot of entertaining, working with my friend Michael Martocci to bring you the voice of Sinatra and the 21-piece Old Blue Eyes Orchestra. We do that, plus some comedy. Now, we partnered up with my good friend Gene, who owns the Comedy Cove in Springfield, New Jersey, another great county, Union County. The politicians in Union County, not so much. But you know what? The small business owners, we love them. And when you live in New Jersey, if you're not laughing a little bit, well, you're probably crying. So I want to bring in my next guest, who is our headliner for Saturday night's show. Yes, there are still some tickets available. Go to billspadea.com, click on events, and you scroll down and you'll see the Comedy Cove Common Sense Comedy Night on Saturday. Let's bring him in. Fred Rubino. What's going on, Fred? How are you?
Hey, Bill, how's everything going?
I'm doing great. How are you? What are you, standing up? You look like you're getting ready to go somewhere.
Yeah, I got a show tonight. I'm in Naples, Florida. I'm doing a show. And then tomorrow I fly up to Springfield to do the show with you guys.
I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait to see you on stage. You've got a fantastic comedy routine. Your set is great, very funny. Tell me, let's back up a little bit. How did you get into comedy? Because I think you talk about food almost as much as I do.
I got into comedy about 15 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And it was strictly financial. I wanted to send my kids to private school. So I started getting another job to get more money because the schools in my area were like jungles. I mean, people coming home with shirts. I didn't get stabbed at school today. I was like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah, bad stuff,
So
right? Some of the
that's
public schools have gone completely south. Let me ask you, so you got in, so you thought, wait, your logic was get into stand-up comedy to pay for private school? I feel like most people would say, let me get out of stand-up comedy so I can get a real job to pay for private school.
Well, I was a union electrician as well. So
Yeah.
I had that to fall back on. So the comedy was just extra money. And that was to get the nuns off my back because they were looking to break my legs. Whenever you go a few months behind, they send people out after
That's how it works. Fred, tell me about the podcast. Get the food out of here.
Get the food out of here is my attempt to continue the Italian tradition of making simple dishes because Italian tradition is all around food. So I try and teach people today how to make their own food. Very simple. You know, Italian tradition, everything is associated with food. If you have a memory, it's usually the memory and food. You know, like that's how our minds think. Like you could have your friend go, oh, I was in the city the other night. I got mugged on 44th Street. Where's that? You know the place that's got the good chicken cutlet? Oh, yeah, 44th Street where the chicken cutlets are. That's how we know things, you know? So I'm always looking to forward the food culture of Italians with my podcast and with my videos of cooking.
Now, Fred, what school of thought are you with regarding how you discuss the food? Because how it's labeled, Italians tend to, maybe I think it's just Jersey and New York Italians, we tend to call things by unrecognizable names, right? Gabagool. Nobody really understands what gabagool is outside of this area. It's capicola, right? And so there's a whole linguistic art to understanding Italian food. Chamanoogs.
Yeah.
It's another thing. What does that mean?
Yeah,
right?
But you know what happens is when Sicilians came here, we pronounce C's as G's. That's the way it is. That's why people say the Sicilian dialect. So when you say calamare, Sicilians say galamare. It's our dialect. So if you go to an Italian restaurant, you order galamare, usually the waiter says, okay, this guy's Sicilian. I know right away. But sometimes we do things, we explode a word completely out of the water. And unless you're from Jersey or New York, you wouldn't have a clue. Like gabagool. I moved to Florida. I told the woman, I go, let me get a half a pound of gabagool, sweet and hot. And she was like, what? What did you just order? I said, gabagool. I go, it comes in sweet or hot. She goes, no, I know sweet and hot. I don't know what gabagool is. I said, oh, excuse me, capicola.
Right? That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. All right, give me your take on the best pizza out here. I have this conversation on the air constantly, and it is a source of debate whether or not it's New York or Jersey. I stand by Jersey pizza, especially at the Jersey Shore. There is some fantastic pizza out there. What about you? Where do you go?
I go back to Brooklyn. I go to Da Vinci's and what's the other one on Spumoni Gardens. So those two are the best pizzas in Brooklyn. But then Manhattan has like Lombardi's. We have a wealth of riches in Jersey and New York when it comes to pizza. Go to Florida. You buy 2 slices by the beach, you wear them as flip-flops. You don't even eat them because it's so horrible, the pizza here. So we have a wealth. It's such a luxury to have to debate who's got the better pizza because it's all the worst pizzeria in Jersey is the best pizzeria in Florida.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
That's why I'll fly up and I'll load up on pizza.
Reason enough not to get out of Jersey. It's why I'm digging in. And listen, so real quick as we wrap up, politics. What do you think? Has the woke culture wrecked comedy?
It tried, but you know what? If you were already a half a liberal, it affected you because you care about, is somebody affected, But all the conservative comics, it never affected us because we knew I'm not obligated to know your life story and to know what triggers you. I'm just to make you laugh, So my politics, I don't care about your politics. I'm just going to talk about mine. And if you don't like it, hey, there's another comic coming right behind, It doesn't matter to us.
Is it different
really didn't affect
Is
us.
it different now with the crowds? If you say something, whether Trump comes up or Biden comes up, I don't know if you do any of that anymore in the act, but do you ever have a situation where today versus 5 years ago, the crowds are different and they treat you different?
You know what? Because I attract a conservative crowd, because of our age. Usually when you're young, you're not that bright and you're a liberal. And then when you get a little older and you start realizing what the world is, you naturally become conservative. So when I'm performing in front of 50, 60, and 70-year-olds, if I used to do like a joke about Trump, they would have, okay. Now, everybody loves it because they're pro-Trump. I say a joke about Kamala Harris in my set. Every time I do, I have to stop because people get up and give me an ovation. That's how much it's my political jokes now are just off the chain, or a great response because people are sick of it. People are sick of it already.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So
It's a lot.
how do people find out where you're going to be once you're going to Wheels Down in Jersey? You'll be in Springfield, the Comedy Cove on Saturday night for a Common Sense comedy show. Where do you head from there? And what's the website if people want to check you out where you're going to be around the country?
Well, you go to fredrubino.com and my updated website's there. Saturday, I'll be in Springfield. Sunday, I'll be in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, a beautiful dinner show. After that, I'll be back in Boca. I'll be in Chicago. I'll be upstate New York, Albany. So just go to fredrubino.com and come to laugh and leave your sensitivity at home because that's not what it's about.
I love it. Fred, always good to talk to you. Thanks for joining me today. I look forward to introducing you on Saturday night in Union County. Thanks, Fred.
Can't wait. Thank you, Bill.
Go kill it tonight.
Bye-bye.
All right, that is Fred Rubino. Leave your sensitivities at home. I love that. I love that. You know, it really is true, isn't it? That people have gotten so sensitive that everything has become an outrage. Everything is an insult. Every single thing is you're crossing a line or you're not. And unfortunately, it's a one-way street. If you go after certain people, if you go after certain faith groups, ethnicities, political persuasions, lifestyles, you get away with it. The media backs you up. I was watching, I don't know if you know who Matt Walsh is, the Matt Walsh blog, one of the great bloggers out there who talks about this war against transing our kids and talks about just the absurdity of the Democrats not being able to identify what a woman is or define what a woman is. I mean, just the patent absurdity of talking about a birthing person and then saying in actual government hearings that, yes, men can get pregnant. I mean, it's just, it's a bizarro world that we're living in. And Matt Walsh got bounced off of YouTube. Now, as you know, I've been kicked off YouTube twice. I keep clawing my way back. But he got bounced off because he refused to accept their terms that you have to recognize someone's pronouns or you would be accused of hateful content. So if you refer to Bruce Jenner as he, because he's clearly still a guy, even though he changed his name, you would be accused of hateful speech and misgendering someone. Guys, let me cut right to the chase here. The whole idea of misgendering is false. It's a fake, false narrative designed to push political propaganda, which has convinced now a generation of people that men and women effectively don't exist, that DNA does not exist, that biology does not exist. Well, it does exist. And if you go to onnj.com, that's onnj.com, our great new partners at On New Jersey, onnj.com, you can find my previous episodes, and I had a wonderful conversation with Riley Gaines. Now, Riley Gaines, as you know, University of Kentucky swimmer, who is the best woman swimmer in the country in the NCAA. That said, she was technically defeated by a man in the women's championship. So when the man, Leah Thomas, who is a man, who swam as a man for several years and was a total loser, literally a loser, was ranked like 400th, then decides he's going to identify as a woman, and the political and media world accepted this, and you were shamed if you said of Leah Thomas, him or man. So here's a couple points I want to leave you with today, but you can check out that interview I did with Riley Gaines. It's fantastic. Now, she, after that interview, about a week later, gave a speech on a campus and was physically assaulted by these trans lunatics who think that they are now untouchable. Guys, the entire trans movement, outside of a select few people who truly have gender dysphoria, which is a mental condition that requires help, most are just role-playing, play-acting for politics. And the fact that we have empowered this movement, this mental illness, this sickness that is being pushed on our society. And let me tell you why I say that, because a lot of people on social media say, well, why do you care if someone wants to change their gender? Well, let me tell you why we should all care. Because the message to young children is that there's no such thing as parameters, standards, guidelines, basic biology. That, number one, has confused a generation of children so much that we are dealing with a spike in mental illness, a spike in calls to the suicide hotline. This has nothing to do with a couple kids being bullied for being different. No, we have kids who are 6, 7, 8 years old being told they might be in the wrong body. You want to talk about giving a kid real depression? Try to convince them they're in the wrong body. And the solution to this mental illness is to have surgery, to butcher your body and pretend with fake organs. That's what's going on. Fake organs based on skin grafts. It's wrong. We are allowing and encouraging and empowering people with a mental illness to mutilate their bodies. We are empowering and encouraging people that want to be woke and get along and are afraid to push back to mutilate their children and block their puberty. Guys, the entire science of this is flawed. It's not only dangerous, but we are seeing the direct harm of this aggressive trans movement. For those folks out there that have gender dysphoria, very real mental condition, we need to get that back into the books in psychology and psychiatry and get people the help they need. The very fact that we have an entire culture saying, if you are confused, you are obligated to encourage people to go toward the confusion, or you will be shamed and canceled, or worse, is a horrible, horrible crime being perpetrated on people across the globe. And America, sadly, is leading the way. We need to stop it. We need to stop the transing of our kids, and we need to stop putting adults in a situation where they feel the only way out is to mutilate themselves and take hormones. This is no longer, not that it ever was, about tolerance. This is about society pretending that anything and everything that you want to do or think you want to do is okay. There is a condition in the world now recognized as a mental illness that a person believes that they will be happier if they cut off their arm or cut off their leg. There isn't a surgeon in America that would even consider taking that request from an adult and performing that surgery. Yet we are saying, in the name of trans acceptance, that you could mutilate other parts of your body just because you decide that that will make you happier. Why is one acceptable and another is not? I'll tell you why. Because it has nothing to do with tolerance. It has nothing to do with anything other than political power. And people with weaker minds who are truly hurting and need help are being manipulated by powerful elites in the back room. Those captains of industry that run our social media giants, the ones that run some of the big corporations in the halls of Congress, at the White House, at the medical centers. Remember, there's a lot of money in it for doctors. Doctors performing a sex change operation, which, by the way, is physically and biologically impossible. You can't actually change your sex. You can mutilate yourself, but you can't change your sex. Now, when you look at that, a doctor, and I've heard these stories from doctors, could get paid up to $50,000 for an operation like that. They'll perform spinal surgery and make a couple $1,000. Now you tell me why we have this incredible push. Let's not forget we just survived 2.5 years of COVID and lockdowns where people were abused and misled and lied to. Now we have those very same vaccines that they pushed on people. They lost their jobs if they didn't take it, now being recalled, saying that they're not safe. Guys, do not let the medical community lie to you for their own profiteering. That's what's happening here. The trans movement has been co-opted as a profiteering movement for big pharma and big medicine, and now it's impacting our children. We have to stop it. We have to fight back at every level. Stop saying terms like biological this and biological that. There are men and there are women, And when you hear from the women athletes out there, you hear from the moms and the dads out there that are having custody fights over whether or not they're going to use the right pronouns for their kids, this madness has to stop. I'm going to leave you with that and encourage you to go to the website, onnj.com, and go watch my interview with Riley Gaines. We have a whole conversation about that. She is somebody that I hope decides to run for office someday. All right, guys, make sure you join the fight, 2023.com. Make sure you follow me on all my social media, at Bill Spadea, and I will see you right here for another Super Spreader of Truth session, spreading common sense and finding common ground, even with those who think right now they disagree. We're going to come together. We're going to take this state and country back for normal. Thanks, guys.